You ever see a ghost walk into a room? Not the kind that rattles chains or whispers through walls, but the kind that makes time slow down for a second. That's what it felt like when she walked in. Boots struck concrete in rhythm, laughter bounced off the steel rafters, and the scent of motor oil and sweat hung in the air of Fort Benning's training hall. Recruits lined up shoulder to shoulder, young, cocky, with eyes that darted to the door every few seconds. Then she appeared, no announcement. No fanfare, just a woman in weathered fatigues, sleeves faded, boots scuffed, and a silver medal pinned above her chest pocket that gleamed like it didn't belong on such plain fabric. A few snickers followed her in. Who gave her that? Participation award from laundry duty? Dalton whispered just loud enough for his circle to laugh. She didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. She adjusted her sleeve, stepped into line when her name was called, and let the laughter pass like wind through leaves. The tone shifted when the door opened again and a visiting SEAL commander walked in. Clipboard in hand, sharp eyes. He scanned the room and then he saw her. And froze. Recognition, not curiosity. Not suspicion, recognition. He didn't say a word. Not yet. They called her Sergeant Emily Rains, but nobody knew where she came from, why she was here, or what her job really was. Her paperwork said observer. No rank pulled. No orders given. She was attached to the unit as support, training oversight. That's it. But it didn't explain why instructors stood straighter when she passed. Emily lived on the edge of base, in the old barracks, the ones everyone forgot. Every morning she was the first in the mess hall, black coffee in hand, reading doe-geared field manuals no one else touched. When recruits stumbled in half awake, she was already gone, moving through the shadows, checking the grounds. Private Dalton, broad-shouldered, full of swagger, never missed a chance to bark louder than the rest. "Hey, Rains," he shouted one morning, towel slung across his neck. "You ever been anywhere or you just read about it?" His buddies elbowed each other, stifling laughs. Emily paused, turned her head, met his eyes, no anger, no smirk, just silence, then a small nod, and she walked away. Dalton blinked. "Guess not," he muttered. But something about that moment stuck with him. She didn't fight. She didn't defend herself. But somehow, she didn't lose either. Later, she helped another recruit adjust their stance during weapons drill, calmly moving their elbow into place with quiet precision. Staff Sergeant Lopez, watching nearby, narrowed his eyes. "That's not just textbook form," he murmured. "That's lived experience." But no one asked her anything. Off duty, while the others cracked jokes or wasted time at the rec hall, Emily was out near the range, restacking shells, realigning targets the wind had blown crooked. No rank demanded it. She did it anyway, as if order was the way she breathed. One evening, Lopez passed by her bunk. Her uniform was folded in a perfect square, her gear laid out like ritual. "You sure you don't miss being in charge?" he asked, half joking. Emily didn't look up, just scribbled something in a notebook and said softly, "You don't have to be in charge to set the standard." And that stayed with him. To most, she was invisible, outdated, background noise. But beneath her silence was something else, a weight, something none of them saw yet. But soon they would. There's a moment in every soldier's life when swagger gives way to silence. For some, it's war. For others, it's a quiet woman standing in the dust with her sleeves rolled up. By the second week of training, the tempo at Fort Benning had shifted. Gone were the introductory drills and barked orders. Now came the exhaustion that stripped pride down to its bones. Recruits stumbled through obstacle courses and combat formations under the burning Georgia sun, their arrogance replaced by blisters and frustration. That's when the Navy SEALs arrived. Their lead, Commander Jack Reeves, didn't need an introduction. His presence sucked the air out of a room. His clipboard was just a prop. His stare was the weapon. He could read weakness faster than most men could blink. The recruits stiffened at the sight of him. But when he spotted Sergeant Rains standing near the formation, quiet, composed, unseen by most, his eyes locked onto her for just a second too long. That same flicker of memory again. Dalton whispered, "She's probably his assistant." "Nah," someone else chuckled. "Maybe logistics. Look at those boots. Like she's been sweeping hangars, not leading drills." But the laughter died when Reeves stopped and faced the line. "You think rank defines experience, Private?" he asked without looking at anyone in particular. His voice wasn't raised. It didn't need to be. Silence dropped over them like a curtain. Then he moved on, and Emily remained still, unreadable. But something had changed. Not with her, but around her. The day wore on through team exercises. Dust rose, shouts echoed. Rifles clicked. Emily walked the sidelines, correcting stances with a murmur, tightening straps, adjusting grips. She never raised her voice, but recruits listened anyway. Dalton rolled his eyes when she corrected his trigger discipline. "Thanks, ma'am." "But we got this." She didn't argue. She just nodded and stepped back. Later, during formation drills, she crouched beside a struggling recruit, adjusted his weight with a few precise taps, and simply said, "Reset." He obeyed without thinking. Not because of rank, but because she made it feel like instinct. Across the field, Reeves watched her. He didn't say a word. As the sun dipped, the final exercise loomed. The obstacle course, the heart of Fort Benning. Ropes, beams, walls, grit. Every recruit's measure was found in that gauntlet. They climbed, crawled, bled. Then one rookie slipped. Halfway up the high rope wall, his boot gave out. He dangled, suspended, screaming. No one moved. No one, except Emily. Before orders could be shouted, she was already there, grabbing the rope, bracing it around her arm, her voice slicing through the noise. "Hold tight!" She anchored low, balanced, controlled the tension. Her voice was surgical, steady. She coached him back to grip, left foot, right foot, until the rookie was climbing again. When medics arrived, the danger had passed. She helped him down, dusted his sleeve, whispered, "Breathe." Across the field, Reeves's eyes didn't blink. His jaw tensed, but he said nothing. Dalton watched from a few feet away, frozen. He hadn't moved. He hadn't even thought to. That night, the mess hall was quieter. Recruits stirred their rations. Dalton broke the silence. "She knew what to do," he said. "Yeah," someone replied. "Luck, maybe." Dalton frowned. No, that wasn't luck. He didn't finish the sentence. Across the compound, under a dim floodlight, Emily sat alone, writing in her field log. Calm, focused, unshaken, the kind of calm that saved lives, not just during drills, but in places where calm was the only way to survive. And Reeves, he finally knew why her silence felt so familiar. The sun had barely cleared the horizon, yet the smell of oil and metal already filled the air. Inside the hangar, rows of weapons gleamed under the harsh fluorescent light. Recruits moved quietly between benches, the rhythm of cleaning and reassembly replacing the usual morning chatter. At the far end of the table sat Sergeant Emily Rains, sleeves rolled to her forearms, expression calm, movements sharp as a metronome. Each motion was deliberate. Disassemble, clean, check, reassemble. The weapon became an extension of her, flawless, disciplined, precise. Dalton sat 2 tables away, whispering to his friend. "She polishes that rifle like it's a trophy." The others smirked, though their laughter lacked its former confidence. There was something about her stillness that unsettled them now. When Emily reached for the barrel clamp, the cuff of her sleeve slid back slightly, catching the light. A faint glint. A thin silver bracelet, dull from wear, engraved with something Reeves could barely read from across the room. MRT-9, his breath caught. That wasn't standard issue. That was personal. A marker for someone who'd served under Mission Response Team. A classified joint task force that operated where maps ended and silence began. Reeves' eyes lingered for only a heartbeat before he turned away. But his jaw tightened. Moments later, a recruit broke the stillness. "Ma'am," he nodded toward her chest. "That medal, where'd you get it?" Emily's gaze didn't falter. "Long story," she replied evenly. Dalton chuckled. "Let me guess, paperwork excellence." A few laughs followed, hollow and unsure. She didn't bite back, just smiled faintly, eyes soft but distant. Then she went back to her rifle, the rhythm of her hands never breaking. That night, long after lights out, Reeves sat alone in the operations office, the glow of the computer screen washing his face in blue. He typed her name slowly. Rains, Emily. The database hesitated before opening. Her file was short, too short. Temporary attaché. Former Joint Task Force, classification, black, deployment record, redacted. Commendation, Medal of Valor. Operational history, sealed. Reeves leaned back, exhaling through his nose. Level black. Only the kind of missions that existed without witnesses or paperwork. The kind that buried heroes so deep the world forgot they ever lived. By morning, whispers had already spread across the base. Recruits traded rumors in low voices during chow. Dalton says she's been deployed before. To where? He doesn't know, but the commander keeps looking at her like he's seen a ghost. Even the instructors started to wonder. She's too calm for logistics, Lopez muttered. That medal? It's not ceremonial. Looks like a silver star or higher. The other NCO nodded. Then why's she here? No one asked her directly. There was an unspoken rule in the military. If someone's silence carried weight, you didn't disturb it, but respect began to shift across the air like weather. No more snickers, no more side glances, only curiosity, and something dangerously close to admiration. Reeves watched her from a distance now, his expression unreadable. Every gesture she made, every correction, every quiet command, was muscle memory born from somewhere real. Not manuals, not training. Experience. Once during a break, he caught her staring out toward the horizon. Not at the field, beyond it, like she was seeing something no one else could. He almost spoke her name, almost asked if she remembered Kandahar or Trident's Echo, or the 6 who didn't make it out, but he didn't, because he already knew the answer. That evening, as the mess hall dimmed, the recruits sat quietly, their laughter gone. Dalton pushed his tray aside, eyes thoughtful. She never said a word, he murmured. Didn't have to, someone answered. And in that silence, the entire base began to understand. The ghost who walked among them wasn't invisible anymore. She was legend, hiding in plain sight. The fog hung low across the field, softening the glow of the range lights. Recruits stood in position, radios clipped, boots wet with morning dew. It wasn't just another drill. This was the combat simulation, a full-force joint operation exercise designed by Commander Reeves himself. The objective? Coordinate a 3-squad maneuver. Secure 2 targets. Extract all without losing signal or control. Simple on paper. Deadly under pressure. Rain stood at the perimeter, clipboard against her chest. Her role, once again, was observer. The recruits still didn't understand what that really meant. Dalton, assigned to lead his squad, had grown more careful, but not careful enough. He barked orders too fast, too loud. His confidence broke the moment the comms did. Static. Then silence. The main relay dropped out. Control, this is Alpha 2. Do you copy? No reply. Reeves stood with his arms crossed, letting the silence speak. A test, not of rank. Of instinct, Dalton froze. Panic flickered across his face. Signals were breaking down. Hand gestures tangled. Formations fell apart. One recruit tripped, another hesitated. Then, everyone hold position. Emily's voice wasn't loud, but it sliced through the chaos like a wire through fog. She moved fast, low, straight to the relay pack, while others shouted over nothing. She stripped the casing, pulled a transmitter from her own gear, and rerouted the signal through an improvised junction. Reeves tilted his head slightly. That technique, he'd seen it before. In fire zones. In Kandahar, Dalton blinked. Ma'am, what are you doing? Restoring what you lost, she replied without looking up. Within 30 seconds, the line snapped back to life. Alpha team, rotate 90° west. Bravo, hold perimeter until I call extract. Her tone was unshaken. Her cadence military to the core, no rank shouted, no flag raised. Yet every recruit obeyed her like they'd been under her command since day one. By the time Reeves called the exercise complete, the squads had executed a perfect recovery, a result even seasoned units struggled to pull off. No one spoke. Dalton looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. The woman he once mocked now stood among them, grease still on her fingers, her voice calm and clear as command steel. That night, Reeves didn't go to his tent. He went straight to the base commander's office. Patterson, he said, voice low. You didn't tell me Rains was on this rotation. The colonel blinked. She's listed as a logistics observer. Reeves stepped closer. She's not logistics. Then softer. I know her. Or I know what she did. Patterson frowned. Go on. Reeves's gaze turned distant. Operation Trident's Echo. Kandahar. 2012. They were pinned. Comms destroyed. She rebuilt the network using stripped cable and drone parts, and guided them through 30 clicks of fire. Saved 6 Navy SEALs. Saved him. Patterson sat in silence. letting it sink in. Why isn't that in her record? Because Trident's echo is still classified. Half the unit didn't come home. Reeves's voice had softened now. But I did. Because of her. Outside, the wind clinked the flag chains. In her barracks, Emily sat under a lamp, wiping grease from her hands. The bracelet on her wrist caught the glow. MRT-9. She turned a worn photo over in her notebook, grinning soldiers half in shadow. Reeves was there, younger, unguarded, and across the base Dalton lay awake, her voice still echoing in his head. She had never asked for respect. She'd simply shown what earned it looked like, and the truth? It wasn't fully out yet, but it was close. The morning air was still. Not the usual rush of barked orders or boots hitting pavement. This silence felt heavy. Like the base itself was waiting. The recruits lined up tighter than usual, eyes forward, backs straight, but not because someone told them to. Something had shifted. They all felt it. Commander Reeves paced the line, clipboard tucked under one arm. His gaze sharp, his movement slow. He checked every boot, every strap, every detail like it all mattered. Because today it did. Dalton's smirk returned for just a second. She probably polished that metal for the commander, he muttered. But before anyone could respond, Reeves stopped, right in front of Sergeant Emily Rains. He didn't speak for several seconds. The wind picked up a faint clatter from the distant flagpole. Then, in a voice so low it made the silence lean in closer, Reeves said, "Sergeant Rains, I never got to thank you for what you did that night." It hit like thunder in a quiet room. Every head turned. Every breath held. "You didn't just earn that medal," Reeves continued. "You saved 6 SEALs and an entire convoy." "When everyone else gave up," he paused. "When I gave up, you didn't." The recruit stood frozen. Dalton's face drained. His throat tightened. No one said a word. No one dared. Reeves straightened and saluted. Not the kind of salute given out of duty. This one came from the soul. Slow, deliberate, heavy with something unspoken. Emily returned it, crisp, quiet, complete. And then, something cracked. A young woman from Bravo Squad stepped forward, saluted. Another followed. Then another. Within seconds, the entire line of recruits raised their hands. Some shaky, some with tears in their eyes. But all of them. Standing for her, Dalton didn't hesitate this time. His salute came last, but it came with all the weight of someone who finally understood. When it was over, Emily lowered her hand. Gave a quiet nod. At ease, no one moved. The silence stayed long after the formation broke. Later that afternoon, Emily folded her uniform for the last time. Her transfer orders rested on the bunk. Another base, another rotation, another chapter that wouldn't ask what she'd done, but she would carry it anyway. She paused, running a finger over the worn metal. Then over the bracelet, MRT-9. Outside her door, footsteps approached. Dalton, followed by a few other recruits, stood awkwardly at the threshold. "Ma'am," Dalton began, voice tight. "We heard you're shipping out." "I am," she replied, setting her bag aside. He swallowed. "We just wanted to say thank you." Private Miles stepped forward. "We didn't know who you were." "You didn't need to," Emily replied gently. Her eyes scanned the group. The same recruits who once laughed now stood like soldiers, not because of training, but because of who stood before them. "Keep each other sharp," she said. "That's what matters. Not how good you are alone, but what you bring out in the one beside you." Dalton nodded. "Yes, ma'am." She slung the duffel over her shoulder and stepped past them. No handshakes. No ceremony. Just mutual, unshakable respect. As she crossed the field, Commander Reeves waited near the lot. "You didn't owe me that salute," she said quietly. He shook his head. "Didn't have to. Some debts don't fade." They shook hands once, brief, firm, final. Emily turned toward the gate. The sun caught the metal on her chest one last time. Not shining for glory, but for memory. As the gate closed behind her, the wind carried the sound of distant boots, recruits standing as she passed. Not out of protocol, out of truth. Inside the barracks, Dalton stared at the door she'd just walked through. He whispered, "Thank you, ma'am." And somewhere down the road, where shadows lengthened and the noise of war fell silent, a quiet figure kept walking, because real courage never needs to be loud. It only needs to be remembered.